Hello everyone, my name is Koren Wiskman, and today I'm playing with the Spellbinders Charming Cottage box die set from Becca. It's the Charming Christmas collection, and also the stamps from the same collection. I'm going to make this awesome gingerbread house that lights up with a tea light. So the first thing I did was take the largest die of the set, which is the actual gingerbread house. It's like as big as my face. And I'm loading that into my Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine. And I'm using Lawn Fawn paper bag cardstock to cut out 2 of these die cuts. So you need 2 of the largest dies in the set to create the gingerbread house. So because the Platinum die cutting machine is so large, it fits a complete sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and that would be 2, the exact number of dies that or die cuts that I need for this project. So it was perfect. I really love the amount of work surface you get with this machine. This is the biggest die cutting machine that I've ever owned, and I thought it would be more intimidating, but it really isn't. I love having this large machine. So now that you have the 2 pieces of the gingerbread house that you need, we're going to start cutting out some of the other die shapes. Now this scalloped die is for the roof of a gingerbread house. So if you typically look at gingerbread house pictures, you'll see that a lot of icing or piping is on the roof a lot of times. So this die mimics that. I'm cutting mine out of Papertrey Inks Pure Poppy cardstock. I cut 5 for each rooftop, but I only ended up needing 4. So this is the door that comes in the die set, and you can tell on your die set when you purchase it in the upper right hand corner, some of the dies can be embossed as well. So this is one of them. I'm going to do the embossing first. So to do that, you just take out the clear cutting plates from your platinum and add the embossing mat and embossing plate and run that through your Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine. And then once you get it, you leave the cardstock in place and the die in place, and then switch and put back your cutting plates and run it through the machine again, and there you will cut the die cut after embossing it. I'm using my Spellbinders tool-in-one to easily remove my piece of paper from the die. So I'm taking Stampin' Up's Old Olive cardstock and the leaf image from the die set, and I'm running that through 6 times, because I'm going to have 3 windows, and my plan is to have little planter boxes underneath the windows. So this die will be my foliage. So I'm taking the parts of the gingerbread house, the paper bag from Lawn Fawn, and I'm going to cut the windows out of it. Okay, so I'm using the front door and this ruler to line up the first window cut. This is going to help me make sure that all the windows are kind of around the same area on the gingerbread house. I don't know, it's just important to have some type of symmetry with me, I guess. So I slowly peel off the tape and punch out those little window parts. I don't need those. And now we have a nicely cut window in the side of our gingerbread house. So you have to designate one area for the door, okay? And then there are 3 other sides that you can cut your window in if you choose. I want to have windows in all of the 3 sides. You can easily lay one side on top of the other and make some pencil marks so that you can line up the die so that it's in about the same position on all of the 3 sides. So now I want to create some shutters for my windows. So this die here that looks like an arch top, I'm going to use that to cut out 3 times, and then I'm going to cut it right down the center to create 2 opposite shutters. I'm surprised at how easily the platinum folds up so that I can move it away from me. If I ever forget the sandwiches, here's the platform that shows you all the directions. I often refer back to it. Here I'm lining up the arch top and cutting the 2 sides for my shutters. I often stop during my creative process and look back at what I've got and how the design is coming together and critique it and make changes if necessary. So here I've decided to add a planter box here at the bottom. So I've cut a strip, or I'm trying to cut a strip that goes flying through the air across my craft room. The box for the planter measures 1/4 inch by 3/4 of an inch, and I just cut it with my tonic paper trimmer, and it fits nicely right below the window. I've also die cut the little biscuit looking tag from the same die set, and I'm using the Charming Tag Sentiments stamp set. We're going to use an acrylic block to stamp the words "Open Me," but I don't want them to be straight across. It won't fit that way, so we're going to stamp one word at a time using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'm only inking up the word "Open," and I'm stamping that towards the top of the tag. And then I can easily clean off your stamp so that "Open" doesn't stamp and ink up the word "Me," and I stamped that below "Open," and that turned out really good.
I still got it.
So I needed a way to attach my tag to my gingerbread house, so I knew that I had a couple Christmassy type twines, and so I picked this just coordinating green shade. I believe it's also by Stampin' Up. So I grabbed my tool-in-one and made sure that all the pieces of the die, the negative pieces, were removed. I grabbed a piece of masking paper tape. This is like a 2-inch thick masking paper tape, and I lined up the edge of where my gingerbread house pieces would be. I wanted to make it look as if my gingerbread had been baked in the oven. So I'm using Distress Oxide inks in Ground Espresso and Vintage Photo, and I'm using them to make it look cooked. This technique worked out very well, masking the edge, even on all the sides. Wherever you feel like the gingerbread house would have connected to another piece of gingerbread, that's where you would mask off. You ink blend on both sides of that line, but as long as you give that ombre effect, it looks like it's been baked in the oven. To do this, I'm using a stencil brush. You can use whatever you prefer to use to get a light ink blended effect, but I'm coating my brush with Oxide ink and really going to town. I thought about adding even some black soot to give it a little bit of depth, but I didn't want it to look burnt. That would be my gingerbread house, and we don't want that. Once I finished ink blending all of the areas that I wanted blended, I took my bone folder and I scored all of the score lines that were built into the die. This is very easy to do, and you kind of see where or how the box comes together at this time. Doing this gives you an idea of where the adhesive needs to go to make the box come together. I have a piece of Papertrey ink linen vellum cardstock. This is a heavyweight vellum. Now you could use this die that also comes in the die set, but I'm just going to use my scissors and freehand some rectangles to go on the inside of the box to give a barrier between the inside and the outside of the box. This is going to look great when I add the tea light on the inside. I'm using scrapbook.com 1/4 inch double-sided adhesive, and I'm doing it around the sides of the vellum so that I can adhere it on the inside of the box, but you won't see the adhesive. I find that the tool-in-one is really handy to get the adhesive backing off of this tape. You could also use liquid glue for this if you would like. I actually added liquid glue to the roof parts at this point, and one at a time I lined up where precisely the overhang I wanted to hang off the side of the gingerbread, and then did one side and then worked my way to the other side and back and forth until all of the roof pieces were adhered. I used liquid glue for the entire roof system, and I used 4 die cuts per roof. I thought I was going to use 5, but I ended up using only 4, and I think it looks great. I used the acrylic blocks to help weigh it down while I was working on the other side. Once those were dry, I began assembling the other parts of the house, starting with the door. Then I used the same liquid adhesive to adhere my shutters. This was the wood grain cardstock. I think it ends up looking fabulous. So once I had those adhered, I used my tool-in-one to hold down the little scroll piece in the set. This is cut from Neenah Solar White cardstock, and it went on the front of the house. So now I want to arrange the greenery that I've cut for my window boxes. This is one die in the die set, but you just set it 2 different ways and you have what looks like ivy to me. So I've arranged my little ivy pieces where I want them to live, and then I stuck a piece of Scotch 3M foam tape behind my window box and stuck it to my gingerbread house. And this is how both the ivy and the window box are adhered to the project. So I wasn't loving that red door, so I changed it to a wood door, but I added a beautiful red bow. The bow is also popped up with foam tape, and I think it looks great.
That looks really nice.
So now we have to make it 3-dimensional. To do that, I'm grabbing my 1/4 inch double-sided adhesive. So I'm putting adhesive along one of the bottoms and both of the sides. Does that make sense? So one of your panels is going to have adhesive along the bottom, but both of your panels is going to have adhesive along the sides. This isn't by no means the best way to do this. This is just how I did it. So I took one of the panels and I removed the adhesive backing, and I aligned both sides to adhere them together, pressing firmly along the edge with the adhesive. And then after standing the box on its side, you can easily align the corner of the box. This is where the bottom of the box really starts to come together. There is a die in the set where you can cut a panel that fits along the sides or the bottom of this gingerbread house, so you could easily cut another panel to cover the bottom to make it flat. So because we use double-sided adhesive, there is no dry time, so I'm immediately putting in my battery-operated candle. You could fill this with candies and cookies and treats for Christmas. I love how it has a milk crate type of closure. It's super cute. I hope you enjoyed my video. I used the hole in the top of the box to add my tag with the twine. I know I certainly enjoyed making this gingerbread house. I hope you did too. Until next time.
Please grind.
Whoa! Whoa! Can I try?
Uh-huh.
We have to make cornmeal.
Come on over here.
So,
Right?
Yeah.
But
okay.
it's dry. Yeah.
Turn one other way.
Righty-tighty, lefty.
Oh, look!
Wow! Look at see it coming down?
That's cornmeal, kids. We have 26 acres. And the way you would call them in for dinner is to ring a bell.
Woo! I need one of them.
Next.
That'll do it.
We found out how to do it.
Whoa, that is cool.
It's almost full. I'm gonna do it. Well, like, let's do it.
Everybody gets a chance.
Come on, buddy. Put it up and down. My turn.
Water was about as high as this, I guess. It has been.
What do you think of that?
Good! But I hope it doesn't get on my chin.
And we got a little water in there, which I won't waste. I'll put it down there. But alrighty. And it's real easy until
The bucket comes up.
Yeah, just left the water. I can always tell by the faces.
Kaylin, you want to help?
Up there. There we go.
With these.
Doing good.
Boom.
Both of you.
Heavy, but